everyone, it's Dr. Rick doing an unboxing on two things in the context of doing heavy lifting. I am now maxing out. I'm trying to bulk up or get hypertrophy. And usually with that kind of exercise, you need at least 85% or more of effort to failure. That's how you stimulate the muscles enough with very strict form to grow. Rest in between your exercise days. And you don't have to be big. The idea is that you just have to turn muscle on and stimulate it. Cardiovascular fitness doesn't really stimulate muscle. It gets you tone. If you have enough time, it can get you a very low blood pressure and a low heart rate and ready for running, which is excellent. But in many cases, my folks need muscle and strength. Muscle for osteoporosis reversal. Muscle has a reservoir for cholesterol or glucose if you're diabetic or you have high cholesterol. Muscle just to move. The longevity approach is certainly to have a low blood pressure, a low body weight, and a low heart rate. Sometimes you have to also see how fast you can get up from the floor, see what you can do with an overhead hang, or see what you can do with jump height. All these things are not necessarily resistance exercise movements, but they do determine your conditioning. So when you're starting out and you have weakness or you're trying to lift appropriately, you can't go further or faster than the weakest link, and the wrists usually are that. The idea would be these things do help. Let's unbox this. These are wrist straps. I got them on Amazon. It's helpful to have these things on and you don't have to have a gorilla grip. Let's check this out. You'll see an opening to one end there. If you see that. The other side is the strap part. So you put the tail end through the hole like that. This way. So I'd cinch it up as best as you can like that. Maybe the red, white, and blue will show up better on the... And then you have the tail end sticking out of your hand with a bar. You would reach underneath, put this around the bar as best as you can, all right? And you grab the bar like this. You have to make it super tight, tighten it up, and then grab the bar. So when you do that, you don't have to have a kung fu grip to hold this object. You just use the strap to take some of the weight as a fulcrum. So it uses the strap to push, and you'll use skeletal strength, almost like hanging and rock climbing without a deathly grip. It will take some of the effort out. So I'm not having to hold and grip like this. So if I was to do it just this way, I could open it, but this is gripping. And if I have difficulty with gripping, especially because of weak forearms, I'll fail the forearm before I fail and build the muscle. I still have to grip, but I don't have to grip as hard. You just have to use the middle finger, and the strap takes 50% of the work. That's an estimate. And that way you can go past the failure point and stimulate the other muscle that you're targeting. I mean, unless you just want to build forearms. In the case of a deadlift, put your hand through the strap and you cinch it down. I'll talk about this now. So this is a weightlifting belt. This is a 4-inch weightlifting belt. You'll see the Olympic lifters go super tight and then lift heavy weight. For you and I who don't compete, it's important to have posture. But the idea of this belt is to give you proprioception. A lot of people that I spot, they will do fine with the workload, but they will also need to have a physical cue. If somebody's squatting here and they needed a little bit of assistance, I might just hold the back just like this a little bit so that they know what to concentrate on. When you're trying to lift properly and avoid injury, especially if you're going to do a compound movement like a deadlift, you will have to tighten up and brace, but you have to breathe through that. Andy Galpin is a really good exercise physiologist. He talks about brace and breathe. If you have to hold your gut like that and then you can't talk because your core is good, but your diaphragm is doing all the work, we need to develop the diaphragm up here, the pelvic floor here, the abdominals, the transverse and obliques, and then the low back. That is your core, almost like a cylinder. And it takes time to develop that, like it takes time to develop this. And if they fatigue first, you won't get any work out of your movement, your compound movement. This is just meant to be snug, to provide that same proprioceptive pressure so that you remember the feedback. If you use this to do all the strengthening of the core or cylinder, you'll always have to use this and you're not going to develop your core. So let's, with proper form, try to wrap these around the barbell. And again, I would keep them like this, wrap them around, get your grip. And this is just with an underhand grip, and then go for the lift. So I'm not having to do a deathly grip. And you can do any grip you want as long as the strap is doing half of the workload. I'll wrap it around the front. And it takes getting used to, so sometimes my normal reaction is to grip very aggressively, get a pump. If this pump fails, you won't be able to get enough workload in to develop this pump or whatever you're working on, upper back, squat, hamstrings. So you can also do this with a pull-up. Those of you who are not so strong with gripping, you'll fail the latissimus dorsi stimulation because the forearms and the grip strength is off. So here I have a standard pull-up bar. I'm going to put the strap on my palm, wrap this around, tighten the strap up, and then grip the bar. Same thing on the other side. It'll take some practice when you first start. It just makes it a little bit more feasible to go past the fatigue point of the forearm. I can just use this, 2 fingers to hold up 148 pounds. Hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas to get a little bit past your fatigue point. So that deadlift I did and this pull-up I did, those are things that you should be incorporating into your resistance exercise program. If you want to develop hypertrophy, it's strict form, and you have to have a break in between, at least 2 minutes. In my previous videos, I talked about back-to-back, high-intensity interval training, or giant sets. Now with regards to hypertrophy, meaning building muscle, burning fat. A couple of options, weightlifting belt, your choice. These are cheap. Sometimes the Velcros are better, but sometimes the Velcros are too strong. And then wrist straps. I give it a thumbs up. I like these things. Again, it takes a little bit of getting used to. You might not notice the power in these things or the help that they can provide you. However, once you get rolling with your exercise, and we have 3 months before it gets cold again, I'd like you to develop that skill. It gives you a little bit more leeway. So these will keep you safe. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section down below. If you like this video, if you're a patient of mine, don't forget to subscribe and hit the alert bell to find out when I do new videos. Otherwise, I'll see you at the next.